Hello and welcome to Sin and Steel, the heavy metal podcast. I'm your host, Serotonin, and in this episode, we're looking at what's new in metal. We're talking heavy metal news, new releases, and whatever I've been up to across the previous month, as well as being joined for a chat with Chris and George of Sydney speed metal band LiveWire. So, let's talk all things June. First up, we have some Metallica-related nonsense. A funeral home in Australia has launched a campaign around customised and pre-planned funerals, sharing examples of the types of things you can plan, like your music. And one of their banners starts out with Metallica. A friend of mine shared this with me and said it gave them "how do you do, fellow kids" vibes, but I think it's kind of the opposite. Like, they know their demographic, and while Metallica have a broad fan base, there's a reason that people joke about it being dad rock. And the OG fans are certainly going to be of the older persuasion. So, maybe it's a good idea for them to start planning their funerals. Anyway, this just gave me a good giggle. What also gave me a giggle was that Metallica and Megadeth both played Hellfest this year, on different days, but still. And Megadeth had Mechanics on their set, even though it hasn't been part of their current tours or something they've been playing of late. So that kind of feels like a bit of a cheeky little fuck you. It probably isn't, but it still gave me a laugh anyway. While we're on Hellfest, Russian deathcore band Slaughter to Prevail and their frontman Alex the Terrible promoted that they were going to aim for the biggest wall of death on Earth during their Hellfest set. This isn't exactly new. Bands have done this before, and we have some really impressive ones that come to mind, like Exodus, for example.
I want you to kill everyone over there! And I want you to kill everybody over there! And nobody goes until I say, hold! Hold! Ah!
But Slaughter delivered. I mean, sort of. It's fucking massive, there's no doubt about it. But it feels kind of slow. It's probably because of how far everyone was having to move, so it took them a little longer to actually run into the middle and get that density. And it's done in a slower breakdown part rather than in that fast thrashy way that we're used to. But still very cool to watch. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Those fucking guys that hang around in the middle just waiting to be smushed, fuck. They have to have some kind of kink for this, right? They just stand there waiting to be sandwiched and beaten by a bunch of sweaty metalheads like it's the most delicious fucking thing in the world. It just cracks me up. If you're one of them, shoot me a message and please tell me why you do it. While playing in Birmingham, the Foo Fighters played a cover of Black Sabbath's absolute classic, Paranoid, and they were actually joined on bass by none other than Geezer Butler. Dave's intro was really cute. He just seemed so stoked, even introducing him twice, making sure to repeat that it was Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. And at one stage, he pulled out the old "we're not worthy" worship. Just fucking fantastic. German thrashers Tankard have announced a change on the drums after 30 years. Olaf Zissel, who has been with the band since '94, has decided to leave the band as his motivation is gone and he really just wants to go and relax and do everyday stuff. His replacement has been announced as Gerd Luking, who has been the sound engineer for years and has even stood in for Olaf in the past. And he's also played in other bands like Holy Moses, Bonded, Veritas Maximus, and more. A 3-part hair metal doco called Nothing But a Good Time is on its way from the director of The Dirt, and it's a follow-up of the Paramount series I Wanna Rock, the 80s Metal Dream, that was released last year. The new series is due to air later this year though, and it's through Paramount+. And in a similar vein, Sam Dunn's banger film series, Rock Icons, commenced airing through A&E in June, with each episode digging into different rock icons, including Bret Michaels, Dee Snider, Alice Cooper, Sammy Hagar, and Sebastian Bach. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek dug himself a hole this month after he made a social media post claiming that the cost of creating content today was close to zero. And while he said this in the context of what seemed to be a bit of a dicky, philosophical, what will be valued in years from now type post, you just know that that's one of the ways that they justify their lack of payment to artists. Loads of musicians and people in general just weighed in on the issue, with the most simple response being, "Fuck off, you out of touch billionaire," while others gave breakdown of costs associated with creating music, and some pointed out that in hundreds of years from now, Spotify will be nothing, but music will always be valued. And while there are probably a million more things I could talk about, I'm going to finish up on the news portion with a really silly one, being that Germany's Lord of the Lost are releasing a new live album, and their special limited edition comes with a Lord of the Lost butt plug. So if you'd like their frontman Chris Arms' face staring out of your ass and into the eyes of your lover, or the dark abyss of your bedroom, get on it. I actually brought this up back when they played Eurovision, but Lord of the Lost have previously sent butt plugs to the Vatican in the hopes of them reaching the Pope. And their tracking showed that they were at least received, so they know their butt plugs spent at least some time on Vatican soil. Of course, there are other bands who sell sex toys as well as part of their merch, with Ghost having previously made Papa Dildos that sold out within minutes, and Cancer Christ sell butt plugs from their merch store. I also saw recently Ross Sewage of Exhumed and Ghoul share a photo of some dildos he got that had Jesus on a cross and like a Mary faces or something, and I thought, fuck, Cancer Christ really need to sell those in a bundle with their Come for Jesus shirts. What have I been up to? What has been giving Serotonin some serotonin? Well, the art piece I mentioned in the May episode, it got accepted, and it was part of an exhibition that ended up with over 70 submissions. I went to the opening night and it was fucking packed, but it was loads of fun. There were no prizes for me, but my piece did sell, which meant also raising some funds for the Save Western Port Woodlands program, which is pretty cool. I went out to see the Ghost movie Right Here, Right Now, and it was so good. I just couldn't believe how still everyone in the cinema was. I was the loser up the back just bopping away, and like everyone was in polite cinema mode. I don't know, like apart from being quieter, I'm going to enjoy a film the same way I do at home, and for music that means I'm banging my head, tapping my feet, and clenching my fists in excitement. Not going to get in anyone's way, of course, and I'd probably have been a bit more still if the seats were the type that meant I'd be rocking everyone around me, but they weren't. Anyway, it was a great film, and any excuse to hear music in the cinema makes me happy. And I particularly love watching the crowds in concert footage like that. All the tears and excited faces, it's just beautiful. I also smashed a bunch of live shows on YouTube this month, particularly given all the stuff going up from Hellfest. One in particular that stood out was Canon and Fever, who apparently I'd been completely sleeping on because I hadn't heard of them before. But their set was fantastic, and I have been fucking hammering their tracks since. In gigs, I had 2 this month, with the first being the Voidfall album launch at the Leadbeater Hotel. The Incantus opened, and while they did have a couple of sound issues, everyone worked really hard to get those resolved nice and quickly, and the guys put on such a good show. It was awesome to hear some of their tracks live for the first time, and it was also really good to get to have a proper chat with Nat in person. Next up were Automation, an old school death metal band who kicked off in the 90s, but after disbanding many years ago, they've recently gotten back up and running, and they are killing it. Then Harlot took the stage, and as they said on the night, they were a little bit of a strange addition to a night that was pretty much all death metal and some kind of black metal. But I love a mixed bill like that, so it was good. Again, they had a couple of sound issues too. There was a cable that seemed to come loose early on, and then it kicked into a really strange sound partway through their set, but they smashed it out anyway, and they gave us a taste of some of their new tracks. Honestly though, I find it really interesting when it comes to gigs with sound issues, because sometimes it makes things like unlistenable, and sometimes a band might be frustrated and it shows during their performance. But I think it's a sign of a professional and a really good musician to be able to work through those issues, still sound decent, and still give a great performance. And I think that both the Incantus and Harlot did that, and it's just a testament to what they do and how well they do it. Voidfall weren't really my cup of tea, if I'm honest, and we had a bit of a medical issue come up amongst the group that I came in with, so we decided to just head off early. This meant that I also missed Lord Chaos, but I'm sure I'll get a chance to watch them again another time. The second show was out at Scotty's Garage for Frankenbach, the Krugers, and Mustache Ant. I had never been to this venue before, but it was super cozy with lots of cool decor, like there's motorbikes hanging from the roof and shit. I'd seen Mustache Ant before for a Christmas gig last year, and I really like what they do, so I was keen to go and check them out again. They have such an interesting mix of sounds and a great balance between those faster paced and slower tracks. That make for a really good gig experience, and they killed it. The Krugers are more rock than metal, which they addressed from the get-go of their set, given that they were playing on a bill called Metal Me Up. And that did feel a little bit weird, but then also not really if you looked at it in the context of the venue, like they fit perfectly there. But they know exactly what they're doing. It's mostly a bunch of older dudes, except for Zach on drums, who's a youngin', and they're all just living their best rock star lives. Like they play up on every 80s rock star stereotype you could think of in both their sound and their stage moves, and it makes for a really fun time. Frankenbach were just fucking awesome. Go! It felt like we were getting a really large-scale performance in a tiny little venue, which was only further emphasised when the owner went running after the guys trying to get them back on stage once they'd finished. But it was a real treat. Now let's talk recent metal releases. As always, I can't sit here and list them all because there are just hundreds of releases each month, but I do my best to go through all the ones I can find. I'll be honest, I was a bit behind this month, so I've probably missed a bunch of really good ones, but nevertheless, I'll give you the ones that stood out to me. If you'd like to watch the full version of any clips that I share here, they're included in the Sin and Steel New Releases playlist, available in the Songs from the Episodes section of my YouTube page. We're going to start things off slow with a couple of Doom offerings. The first of which is Wind Rider from the US, who released the album Revival. It's dark yet comforting, and I just really dig Chloe's vocals on this. Crypt Sermon, also from the US, released their third album, The Stygian Rose, and this is delicious. It has loads of traditional and even some proggy and power influences while still being unmistakably doom metal. In thrash, Brazen Tongue released their first full-length album, Of Crackling Embers and Sorrows Drowned, and it has a bit of a melodic death thrash sound. Holyside from Spain released their third full-length album, Towards Idiocracy, and I'll be honest, the opening of the first track, AI Supremacy, was a little bit off for me, but once I dug into the rest of the album, I was delightfully surprised and found it to be a lot of fun. Sake from Norway dropped a new album, Endo Fate, and outside of Sake of Cold and Toolless, the lineup in this one includes Steinar Gunderen, also of Cold, Nocturno Colto of Dark Throne, and Andres Hundstad of Satyricon. While they're listed as black and thrash, I find this release to not be thrashy at all and more like black and roll, exploring some rock and bluesy elements with that black metal feel. It makes for a really interesting listen.
Unseen and alert, his soul resides in the fortress of silence. He hides.
Speaking of black and roll, I mean, I have no idea what these guys actually consider themselves to be other than face-melting heavy metal, but Death Penalty from Sydney, Australia dropped their self-titled EP, and it's thrashy, punky, death and roll, black and roll, like it's kind of both, absolute madness, and I have been really digging this one, as in it's been playing on repeat amongst the other stuff I've got on rotation at the moment.
Summoned at midnight. The final stroke of 12. Full moon necromancy. From the very depths of hell.
And while we're on Sydney, LiveWire have released the single Turbo Shark, an insanely fun speed metal track. And I happen to have Chris and George join me this month to tell me all about it. So let's jump into that. I'm stoked to be joined by Chris and George from LiveWire, a speed metal band from Sydney who absolutely killed it with their debut album Under Attack in 2022 and are here to tell us all about their newest tunes. So thank you for joining me, guys.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
Before we do jump into the new stuff, I'd love to get a bit of a rundown of LiveWire. So, because I just said like your debut was 2022, but that was only under this name. So you guys started out originally as Fenrir, is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Very, very different vibe.
It was a different band. Then after a huge lineup change, we kind of turned it into a speed metal band from a folk metal band, and then we decided we can't keep going with the name, so we just decided to change it up, rebrand. Chris joined in
2017, 2018 or something like that.
Around then.
Yeah. But I actually used to know George from another band we played with or played in.
Yeah, we used to play in a band called Execute.
Yeah.
It's an old school death metal band.
Yeah. So I've known him since maybe 16 or 15 years old when I auditioned, and somehow I got accepted, and now we're here.
That's
I've
awesome.
ruined his life.
Yeah, it's just definitely fucked me.
No, that's fantastic. I'm sure it goes a long way to creating a good atmosphere when you're playing with your mates.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Big.
So I guess what do the viewers, the listeners need to know about LiveWire? Like, what are you guys all about? What are you setting out to achieve, and where do you pull your inspirations from?
So in terms of like audience aiming, we're going for the trad, speed metal, new wave of heavy metal crowd. Like a lot of our influences are in that scene. So and they play on a lot of festivals that we want to play on in Europe. So like Keep It True Festival, Headbangers Open Air, and what else, like Up the Hammers. So all they're smaller, but like
It's like a niche sort of market.
A niche market that we love. Like we'd love to play for and play on. And we just love those type of bands like Riot City,
Vulture,
Stallion, it was like Enforcer, all that scene.
Yeah, awesome.
So we're trying to get into that market. Yeah.
Fuck yes. No, I think that works really well, and what you guys are doing is fantastic. And you're clearly kicking a lot of goals anyway, because you've been doing a lot of really good Aussie festival type shows. And I did catch unfortunately because of traffic, I didn't catch all of it, but I did catch the end of your set when you opened for Glory Hammer in Melbourne. You guys smashed it.
But that was a really cool show out of the whole tour, because we heard so much about the Max Watts, and then we arrived and we just saw the whole stage and the whole room went, holy shit.
Great setup, great lighting, everything at that place was awesome.
It was fucking great. So it was really cool to just kind of like play at that venue. And then I think that kind of like really rubbed off on our performance, because we were so like hyped up at playing at such a venue like that. And of course being on tour with Glory Hammer, it's just everything kind of like melded together, and we just had a sick time on stage. And the same thing happened with all the other shows, especially, but Melbourne, we saw it really kind of shine through.
No, that's awesome. I think the Glory Hammer one, it was kind of like a strange mix, but also perfect at the same time, because it's speed metal, power metal, very different things, but they're kind of like that party power metal, and speed metal is very party, fast, fun, and it just matches so well.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, our music kind of touches on power metal a little, if you look at it that way. So
a lot of it, very power metal at times.
Holding some of your old influences.
Yeah. There's also, I guess you could say, Nick's like singing style too is very kind of has those elements of things too. I guess you can kind of like closely relate like singing styles like in speed metal, like the whole like falsetto stuff. It happens everywhere in metal, but like I guess that translates quite well for power metal, like, especially the Glory Hammer crowd, because they could see what those traditional influences are like, along with the like power metal sort of like feel like what Glory Hammer does, especially.
Yep.
So there was kind of like a bridging zone too, so it was really nice to see that people liked it.
That's awesome. And how about all the Australian festivals and other shows you've been doing? How have they been going?
Yeah, not too bad. They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
Yeah, good. We haven't played a festival in a while, have we? When was the last one we played?
The last time.
Churches?
No,
Legions. Was it
that one? Was it?
It was definitely before COVID.
Steel Assassin? I can't remember the order, but
our brains are a bit much like between like before and after COVID. We're just like, what happened in between?
Everything's kind of a blur.
Have played these festivals in Australia. They've always been like really enjoyable.
I've seen your name pop up on quite a few of them, especially the ones around like New South Wales ones. Was there a couple of Adelaide ones, or am I completely misremembering?
Yeah, we played Churches of Steel in Adelaide a couple of years back.
No, it's 2019, maybe
but not
before COVID.
Not too many in Melbourne yet. We need you guys popping down here a little bit more.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Well, I think it was last year that we might have played Legions of Steel. Was it Legions of Steel, or was it another?
Was it 2 years ago?
I don't know. We got terrible memories too, so apologies.
It feels like this is the standard for everything right now. People are forgetting timelines. Just the past few years has thrown everything, so no one knows anymore.
No, people don't pick us differently anymore. It's like, oh, you guys are forgetful. It's like, oh, no, you're like everyone else now. It's like, okay, cool. So we fit.
So in terms of new stuff, we've just had the release of the single Turbo Shark. And there's a new single coming up in July, Venom Lord, and they're both absolutely scorching tracks. And obviously, very excited to see what's coming from that. So Would you like to tell us about like those tracks in particular, and then maybe elaborate a little bit on what we can expect from the next release?
Yeah, for sure. So, with Turbo Shark, it actually started off as an idea with George and I. Well, actually, I don't know where we start. Did we start in lyrical content or did we start in the music? I guess we'll start in the music. So it actually started with George and I just kind of riffing like ideas together. Like usually he would come over to my house and he'd be like, oh, rip off this or rip off that. And he might show me like a Vulture riff or this or whatever. And I'm like, all right, try my best to kind of emulate that sort of style. And then we had drums, like programmed drums and blah, blah, blah. I think the lyrics were like...
Not rip off.
Not rip off, no. Take a lot of cool influences from these bands. And
influences.
Yes, influences. Yeah. So we kind of have like a skeleton structure for, at least for Turbo Shark, we had like a skeleton structure where, okay, this is how it could sound or how it should sound. And we added like melodies over time and changes a little like that. With the whole Turbo Shark lyrical content, I think the whole shark thing kind of
we had this inside joke about sharks, and it's just our silly little thing within the band. So then I just decided to go write the lyrics, and so if you want to know what it's about, it's about that theory how aliens are watching over us and making sure we don't all kill each other and we're protecting the earth, etc., etc. So I imagine they looked at nuclear testing and weapons testing in our oceans and how it's killing all our sea life, etc. So they created a giant shark that's like bigger than Megalodon, and it just like they dropped it in our ocean and just like rips apart all military ships. And
are we getting a film clip? Like, is there a film clip to match this storyline?
Maybe in the future, yeah.
In the future, we're thinking of doing.
I know.
We're thinking of doing like a bit like a proper video clip, because we are going to re-record it once we do the album. Because it's actually programmed drums on there. No one really noticed. So we're going to record it all again properly. There's a few changes we're going to make that will better the song, and we'll definitely set up a music video to it with the release.
Nice.
And
I could picture like a Sharknado style horror film to go along with it, or a cartoon. Even a cartoon would be rad for that.
Yeah, we're looking at trying to do like some sort of like cartoon for it, but we just couldn't find anyone. I think I contacted the guys who did the Municipal Waste You're Cut Off one, and the budget was a bit too high for us. And we were just like, sorry, dudes, maybe years when we have a bit more.
Unless there's any
artists out there,
apprentice cartoonists out there that want to give it a shot, let us know.
Yeah, guys, cool. Hit them up.
It'll be mad to happen because it's definitely a cartoony sort of thing. It'll be mad to see it come to light.
Yeah. As for Venom Lord, that was more of Nick's. Nick wrote that one. He wrote the lyrics to that. So I never really asked him about it.
Well, pretty much. I think you can kind of see it in the artwork. It's just like an evil sort of like what do you call him? An evil villain sort of guy, and he kind of like creates a venom sort of thing to kind of inoculate the population. That's my understanding. Nick's probably going to rip into us now, going, "How do you not know what the lyrics are about?" I'm like, sorry, dude. We're interpreting the art the way we see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Much love, Nick. Sorry, bro.
There'll be a follow-up in the next episode with just a clip from him.
Oh yeah, definitely. But well, Nick being the main songwriter of the band, like a lot of the stuff comes from him, and he usually like comes in with a very clear idea, like this is what we're doing, this is how it's going to sound, blah blah blah, and it's fleshed out all the way through. But yeah, like great songwriter, like he wrote all of the last album essentially for like except for 2 or 3 songs. So yeah, he's a machine when it comes to it. Sorry.
Nice.
Okay. Well, yeah, he's a machine when it comes to composition. So yeah, he's pretty much the driving force for all our creative endeavors.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's Nick.
It sounds like there's a really good balance there. So the plan is to do some re-recording and then pop it all on an album and release that?
Yeah, we're hoping to probably start recording towards the last quarter of the year. That's the goal at the moment. So right now it's like a lot of hustle and bustle to get all these songs like really up to scratch, and they're getting there slowly, but just with constant like scheduling issues or whatever, or things get in the way. It happens. But at the moment things are looking fairly on track to kind of start, at least pre-production by the end of the year. and then hopefully out by the next year. And then if things go nicely the way we want it to, hopefully we can get some sort of tour out of it and promote it that way on the road. That'd be like, the end goal. So
Yeah.
just, I guess it's just like, what depends on what cards we get dealt in the future. But ideally, we'd love to like promote it overseas and get into that European speed metal market, and hopefully like other places around the world, like Canada or, even around Australia a little bit more too, would be a lot of fun. But definitely main goal is try to get to Germany at least.
I feel like your music is good for that as well. Like that whole 80s vibe and the way that you guys present it all, your stage presence and everything else would be really good for European countries. I mean, when I walked in and you guys were on stage, it was like, I think everyone was shirtless, and it took everything in me not to just want to make a joke about, every woman in the room being pregnant and how much testosterone was up on the stage. And I feel like that would be very at home in Europe.
Yeah, very up the alley in Europe. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. But so you guys on track for all of that? Because I did notice I got an email earlier today from a promoting company. I haven't actually opened it. That you guys were listed on. I'm opening it now right in front of you.
Okay.
Vlad.
Oh yeah, Vlad. Yeah.
Vlad's our mate from Poland. He's helped us out a lot.
Yeah,
with promotion and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
he's spreading the word of LiveWire all over the world for us. And
looks like he's doing a good job.
Well,
he's been
I mean,
helping us since the first album.
My email back to him later on will be, "Hey, thanks. I've already had a chat with the guys."
You can screenshot this now and send it to him.
But no, it's really good. It's good to have those sorts of people on board. Where can people listen? How can they show their support?
Honestly, straight from Spotify is probably the best place to go to. Secondly would be YouTube. But honestly, whatever's easiest for the consumer to get their music from, obviously, I think the majority of the places would be like, Spotify and YouTube. So honestly, go there.
We'd like to print out vinyls and cassette tapes, but it fucking costs too much.
So fucking expensive. If the living conditions weren't hard enough, it is. Try being in a band on top. Try being in multiple bands. It's the fucking dumbest thing you'll ever do.
Kids, don't join a band. It's the worst financial decision you
play
can
in your
make.
bedroom. Play in your bedroom and you'll get the same amount of
It's worse than getting a mortgage, or on par with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Fingers
you don't
crossed
even get to
that
own
you guys
music
can.
at the end. No, but in all seriousness, play music.
Yeah. No, fingers crossed you guys can get some interest and get some support somewhere that will help you get those printouts, even if it's limited editions, and because all that stuff is kind of coming back at the moment. The collection of vinyl and cassette tapes in particular have been really popular again. So it's nice to have those sorts of things out for people, and obviously any way that gets more money in your pocket from what you've created, which we know you don't get from Spotify and all of that, it's important, but it's not going to pay you very well, if anything.
No. I think we've seen like 50 cents from Spotify, which is great. But, the only issue with that is
we can't
all get soft serve ice cream. So we're going to have to get one and share it.
Yeah, we'll like lick one side each and pass it on. It's a bit weird, but, we got to make it work. Fuck it. Until more people can download our stuff, then we can all get our soft serve ice creams. But until then, we're going to
I tell you what,
so,
next time you're in Melbourne, yell out and I'll shout you all the soft serve ice cream.
Yeah, that's the best thing I've heard so far. It's food. Fucking great. Our social medias, they all have links to all our other links, like a link tree. Just click on that, follow everything. There's a Bandcamp where we also post our music and merch too, which is where our stories for our merch. So hopefully, if things go well in the next couple of months, we can kind of get a short run of Turbo Shark and Venom Lord shirts. So we'll put out to the public if they want to have them, which I hope they do. Yeah.
Oh, the artwork is cool. They'll be perfect on merch.
Oh yeah,
I've had a lot of people already asking for shirts.
The artwork's great. We got a guy from, where is he? He's actually used to go to school with him. Hire him. He's always been into graphics design and everything. And then we're looking for artists to do the Turbo Shark and Venom Lord. And I was like looking through Instagram, like just scrolling through. I'm like, who the fuck can do good art? And then I just like popped through. I just saw him as a friend suggestion. I'm like, First of all, how the fuck do I not have him as a friend? And secondly, how have I not fucking asked him? And it was the best decision I think we've made is just to go to him. So he's killed it, and
Yeah, it's
That's
looking
awesome.
like he'll be our artist.
for the album and stuff like that.
Perfect.
So yeah, he kills it. He does so well. So if any other people need an artist, hire him. I can't pronounce his last name. Sorry, dude. But if you need a link, definitely we'll pass
Just
on.
ask us.
Yeah, ask us. We'll
pass
pass it on.
Yeah.
So if you wanted, if you shoot me his page, although I might have already followed it from your page, but if you shoot me his page, I can tag him in the post as well if you'd like.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I'll do that. We'll do that
Then
now.
people can
We'll
jump
do this.
straight across. But and as always, for anyone tuning in, when I share the episode on social media, LiveWire will be tagged in the post so that you can be linked right across to their page. Make sure you give them a follow, check out their latest tracks, and then keep an eye out for all the new work. Now, I'll be looking forward to actually catching a full set of you guys sometime. But yeah.
Absolutely. When we're in Melbourne, we'll let you know, and hopefully we can all catch up in person. It'll be sick.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thanks again, guys. See
Catch
ya.
you later. Bye. Bye.
Back into new releases, crossing over the power metal and traditional metal spaces, we had Axel Rudi Pell from Germany release his 20-something full-length album, Risen Symbol, and this is catchy as hell. Crystal Viper from Poland gave us their 9th album, The Silver Key, and this is cool as fuck. It just feels like really old school power metal. Complete with a ballad, and while I don't really like the vocals in the verse of Fever of the Gods, they are great throughout the rest of the album. In death metal, Ad Patrace from France released the album Unbreathable, which is packed with tasty riffs. Severe Torture from the Netherlands gave us Torn from the Jaws of Death, which is their first full-length release in 14 years, and this is just killer straight-up death metal. Vomit the Soul from Italy dropped Massive Incineration for a good dose of brutal death metal, and for some old school death metal, Hyperdontia dropped Harvest of Malevolence. From Ireland, Congenital Abnormalities released the EP, A Resurgence of the Grotesque, and this captures both classic death metal and modern slam, sprinkled with groove and some fantastic vocal delivery. Something we haven't really had on Sin and Steel before is deathcore, and this month I shared one on Instagram, which was Immortal Disfigurement's album, King. It's symphonic deathcore, and it had some elements that actually appealed to me. I have listened to it a few more times since then, and I liked it less with each listen. It was also flagged to me that the vocalist is maybe not such a good dude, with some sexual misconduct and racism claims against him. And I kind of just had to fucking laugh at this. I feel like finding out a deathcore dude is in any way physically violent, sexually abusive, or whatever is just so fucking typical, and it's kind of like finding out that a European black metal band has some sort of Nazi affiliations or extreme right-wing views. It just happens more often than any of us would probably like. I think there's some nuances there in terms of where you can and where you can't separate the art from the artist though. Anyway, this finding has helped me spot some things that I did like, and since then I caught the new Eden Adversary album, Kingdom of Heresy, which is also symphonic deathcore but from Indonesia. And I liked this one a whole lot more than that. And then it was suggested to me that I go back to a 2022 release, Allergy by Shadow of Intent, and this one was even better. So I've got some stuff to work with and maybe open up at least a little bit of an interest in that space. This month was probably a black metal heavy month though for me, and some of the standouts included Oubliette from the US, who released the melodic black album Eternity Whispers. It's really easy listening, it's just super relaxing and enjoyable. Mithraeum from the US dropped the album Oblivion Eternum, which has a bunch of folk melodies, especially in the intro, a bit of a tech feel in the guitar work, and it just feels really full or dense, like sheer thick. Nightwolf of Runespell from Australia released the EP for his other project, Ancient Guard, titled Nightfall Enthroned, and this is atmospheric with a good raw feel, and it's just really well crafted. Houle from France dropped their first full-length album, Ciel Cendré et Misère Noire. I don't know if I even came close with that, but it is aggressive as fuck, but in this really captivating and romantic way. There's just so much passion to the music and the vocals, something about female French black metal vocals is just really working for me at the moment. The way they sound when they're doing the spoken parts, both soft and really angry, and then the screams. It just works so well. And Kvein from Sweden, which is the solo project of Jacob Bjornfor, released the album The Formless Fire. It's pagan Viking themed black metal with some punchy as fuck drums. It is an absolutely stellar release. And our last one for this episode is another curveball for me because I'm not often into a lot of prog outside of progressive death metal. But the Omnific from Australia gave us their second full-length album, The Law of Augmenting Returns, and this is fun as fuck. These guys are a mostly instrumental, 2-bass, 1-drummer arrangement with this really interesting, obviously bass-heavy, djenty goodness. So if I were to take from all of June's offerings and select a top 5, it would be at number 5, Ancient Guard, Nightfall Enthroned. 4, Crypt Sermon, The Stygian Rose. 3, Death Penalty, their self-titled EP. 2, Houle, Ciel Cendré et Misère Noire. And my top pick for the month would be Kvein, The Formless Fire. I'd love to know, what was your favourite release for June? Drop me a comment, shoot me a message through social media, or email me at sinandsteel@outlook.com to let me know. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to and share the podcast, and make sure to follow Sin and Steel on social media. Check out my Linktree to access playlists, including songs from the episodes, and to be directed to the Sin and Steel Redbubble store for merchandise featuring artwork designed by me. Thanks for tuning in for this episode of What's New in Metal. I'm your host, Serotonin, and sinners, until next time, stay metal.